who's an osteoarchaeologist, and she's basically here to tell us about the program that's going to be offered at the
Galen University.
Galen University. Thank you very much, sister. I'm happy to have you back.
It's good to be back.
Could you go ahead and introduce yourself and at the same time explain to us what forensic anthropology means in layman's terms, too, please?
My name's Sherry Gibbs. I've been living in Belize for about 8 years now, but first started doing research here in the early 90s. And just recently started teaching at Galen University last semester, teaching Intro to Biological Anthropology. And that's kind of where the idea for doing this course came from. Forensic anthropology is a subfield of biological anthropology, which in itself is a subfield of anthropology, which includes cultural anthropology, archaeology, linguistics, and then physical anthropology. Forensic anthropologists are usually trained first as osteologists, which is the study of the skeleton, the study of human bone. And forensic anthropologists will use that knowledge of the human skeleton, analyzing human skeleton remains that have been found and which are unidentified from a crime scene, and will use their techniques and apply them in a legal context.
Okay, so for viewers, we just want them to know that forensic anthropology is a new course that will be given at Galen when the next semester,
the summer,
or January?
In the summer, in June. It's going to be an intensive 2-week course. So it's going to be all day, every day for 2 weeks, I guess a total of 10 days. And it starts June 8th, and June 8th, and then runs for 2 weeks after that.
And is it a one-time course? Or you're thinking about whether or not you're going to offer it more often if there's a good reception?
There's a real interest, yeah. Okay. We're putting it initially, when it was suggested, there's a lot of work involved in trying to establish a new course because Galen is also associated with the University of Indianapolis. But because we were dealing with a short time, we thought, well, let's put it under a special topics course. And which is sort of left open to cover certain topics that maybe an undergraduate student wants to take, but there isn't a specific course in that. So we thought, well, let's try it as that, and we'll see what kind of interest we get. So we're hoping a lot of international students, as well as Belizean students, will be interested in taking it, and then from there, I think we'll develop it into its own course.
Okay, so it's like an elective there?
Yeah, that's what I was...
Yeah.
So it can be an elective for someone taking anthropology, or, as you mentioned, you said it can also be for persons who aren't students at Galen as well?
Yeah, we've been talking about maybe opening it up, people within maybe the police force, if they're interested, because they've done that before with other courses at Galen, and they can audit the course. So if someone wants to take it but doesn't want to take it for credit, they're not enrolled in the university, so they don't really need the credit for it, but they can audit it.
So what type of, would you get a certificate, a diploma, a degree for doing that course if you are not a student at Galen University?
That I'm not really sure. I guess maybe a certificate. That's something that someone would have to talk to the registrar or the administration with the university.
Because you wouldn't want to go and invest, your monies into it, and then you're
nothing to show for it,
and then you don't up your pay and all of that. That's how those
certification
things go.
Well, at least you'll get an accreditation for if they want to go ahead and further their studies as well. Right?
And it's really open for any. You don't have to be an anthropology or an archaeology major to take it. It's open to anybody.
You would have to have some science background, though.
Yeah, that was something that we were discussing, what would be the requirements, because we're going to be dealing with the skeleton. And I think right now, maybe somebody that has a background or has taken an intro to physical anthropology, which many anthro students have done.
And how would that work out for persons from the police department who probably don't have an intro to physical anthropology?
Maybe bio.
Well,
or just regular anthropology would do intro to anthropology,
I think anybody who wants to take it will do fine, even if you don't have any background or you've never really looked at the skeleton before. But someone within the police department, they already have that background of crime scene recovery, and have kind of dealt with what do you do when you find a body. And
okay, so hands-on knowledge is just
you
fine.
probably go basic, and then afterwards go into more intense information, right? More in-depth information.
Within the course?
Yeah. You'd start basic with the basic information and then lead your way up. That way, for those who don't know much about the bones and whatever you or have any kind of background in biology or anthropology, they'd be able to, readily understand what you're saying and then
right, because the skeleton is just one component of the course. We'll have an osteological quiz, and it's not heavily weighted, so if you don't do too well in that quiz, it's not going to destroy your chances of doing well in the class at the end. It's I think we spent about 2 days, I think that's how we've set it up, looking at the skeleton and introducing students to the skeleton, and then showing students how we would sex the skeleton, whether it's male or female. Try to get an age range of how old the person was at the time of death. These days, osteologists, depending on the state of preservation, we can get a pretty good age estimate. We can't get exact, the person was 35 years old, but we can say, oh, this individual was 30 to 35 years of age when they died. So we'll introduce students to that, how we obtain stature, so how we can tell how tall the individual was. And all of this helps to build a biological profile of this unidentified individual. And from there, then, you try to match the information that we've retrieved from the skeleton with missing persons. So, if there's a list of missing persons, males and females, and you know how old the person was, and so we try to match that with what we find from the skeleton.
Okay, so basically what will the course be? Will the person, let's say I'm a student, hypothetically talking, I'm taking this course, and I will be looking at what, bones? Doing some excavation or something like that?
Yeah.
What does it entail?
We're going to start off. We're going to start off with decomposition. So I guess right off the bat we'll find out, how squeamish some students are. But
at least it's bones. It doesn't entail blood and meat
and soft tissue too much.
Yeah.
Sometimes, but for the most part, it's just skeletal remains. But with decomposition, we want to find out the rate of decomposition, especially in Belize, in a tropical country, as opposed to the U.S. You see a lot of shows, or you hear a lot about decomposition rates. We want to find out what it's like here. So we're going to use a couple pigs. The first pig we'll put out maybe a couple weeks before the class starts, and then the second one we'll put out the day the class starts.
Okay, and then you'll compare.
Right, and have students every day, they'll go out and check, how the pigs are doing, and, looking at insects and just, general rate of decomposition to see how far along it goes. How long is it going to take for a body to decompose here?
But
that's
here,
an
I would
interesting,
think,
that's an interesting
I think that in the tropics it decomposes faster than in the states, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Insects and all
But I was
sorts of
thinking
stuff,
about
and
the temperature,
humidity
more so
and
the
stuff.
temperature.
Yeah,
right?
the temperature, but there's a lot of variables because it also depends on where the body's been placed, and so then we're going to introduce taphonomy, which are those processes that can affect the individual, the body when it's been laid out, and they can be natural, accidental, or intentional. So water, if it's placed near a river and there's some flooding or erosion, or if it's placed in a field and there's a plow, or vultures, dogs, any kind of scavenger that might be trying to get at it.
Okay, and probably compare like saltwater decomposition with freshwater, something like that.
I think the salt water would preserve it more, don't you think?
I think some shark would come and attack the carcass or something.
And then fire ants too. That was something else I was thinking, because we want to do a little field trip component and have students go around the Cayo district, and we'll try to identify some local environments. So, the river bank, maybe a small creek, the jungle, and then an open field since we're near Central Farm. And then, maybe we can try to find a fire ant nest and, see, a body I would assume will decompose much quicker on a fire ant nest than it would somewhere else. So there's lots of variables. But we'll try to get the student to think like a criminal, to try to, come up with, if you had to place a body somewhere, and, where would be the best place to put it. Because all of these processes can have a direct effect on how the body is then retrieved and how we can identify, because if there's a lot of parts of the skeleton missing, it just might be impossible to get an identification
Well, a lot
of
of
the
them would
individual.
be